from being called jinxed to becoming one of Bollywood's most celebrated actors. The story I'm going to recount today is one of innocence and confidence. The woman that I'm going to be talking to has had a fair share of trials. She's an outsider in the film industry, and yet she has the confidence to write her own rules, break every stereotype, and script her career completely her way. She's known on-screen and off-screen for her sense of humor, positivity, and her unerring energy. That's correct. I'm talking about none other than the vivacious Vidya Balan. Thank you so much, Vidya, for joining us on ET Now.
My pleasure entirely, and thank you for your very kind introduction.
When I was researching you, the one paradox that I found is, so when you were a child, you were a fat child.
Yeah.
Most of us are when we are young. I mean, which is okay. But I also felt when I was researching you that there was never a lack of confidence in you.
Yeah.
Right? So you were always brimming with confidence at one hand. But on the other hand, because you were a fat child, you were hesitant to go out onto the playground.
Yeah. No, playground, not hesitant to go out onto the playground. I am a homebody.
Okay.
But when you're fat, you're told that you're being lazy.
Okay.
So if a thin child didn't want to go out and play, it's okay. So these associations you begin to, I remember being called Fatty Bambola, and
Sure.
it would be like, I remember I was chosen to do Humpty Dumpty in school, and I was so offended because my friends started teasing me saying Humpty Dumpty. I came home crying and I said, I'm not going to do this. My mom had to actually go and tell the teacher that she doesn't want to do it. And my mom keeps saying, little did I know that girl would want to put herself out there and be an actor
Sure.
in front of millions. But at that time, I didn't like being called fat. Because people would always poke fun. At home, my father is someone who's always, who never, I think, who never made me conscious of the fact that I was fat or anything like that. My mother was worried, I guess, but also that's being a mother. So she would take me for walks because I was not going out to play. I would, in school, I would tell them that I've had an appendix operation. Invariably, if I was in a lazy mood and I didn't want to move. And then, my mother would take me for these morning walks, or she would trick me and take me when she went grocery shopping. She'd say, okay, I'm going to get you something. We'll take a rickshaw one way back. And that was that never happened. So we'd walk up, we'd buy all the stuff, and I'd keep saying my legs would hurt. And she'd say, okay, now we'll walk back. We'll walk a little more, and then we'll take a rickshaw. And then she'd say, now we won't get a rickshaw,
Sure.
So I think my mom was always worried, but my dad was absolutely cool. So which is why, but I still think I was a very confident child, and so was my sister. It was probably the environment at home,
Right.
where we were never compared to anyone else. We were never told that you have to get so many marks, there was freedom to, at that age, I think, choose what you want to do.
Okay.
Of course, in the outside world, I was being told all the time that, I am a fat child.
And that never affected you?
No, as a kid, it didn't. I would keep to myself anyway. But I think it was in my teenage that, after attaining puberty, you begin to want to get attention from the boys.
Sure.
And that's when you feel that maybe being fat is not very attractive. And I think I'm all for, being fit. But I realized, of course, much later in life that it's absolutely okay to be fat. Though fit and fat don't necessarily go together, but there are body types that most people think that if you're fat, that means you don't exercise. But I am someone who exercises very regularly, and I don't see myself as fat. For me, fat is someone who's not fit.
Sure.
But again, all those concepts are very, very muddled.
Absolutely. So when you have these obsessions when you're young, whether you want to be an air hostess or you want to be a doctor or you want to be an astronaut or a film star, these are all usually passing, and nobody really takes you seriously. And how long was this obsession for you? It never stopped?
It hasn't
It never did.
Yeah, it never
So
did.
it was never like, your parents were asking you to consider a serious career or do a CA foundation or do an MBA?
No, as a matter of fact, my parents were okay when I told them that I want to do arts at Xavier's.
Okay.
And I, there was no pressure from my parents. I think they just thought that I'll do something. They probably thought I'd go the social work way or something like that,
Right.
And they knew.
But you had no fixed ideas about what you wanted to do.
No, I wanted to be an actor, but that they didn't take seriously.
So did you take it seriously?
Yeah, I always. That's
But you thought it was achievable.
Yeah, I thought it was absolutely achievable.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I never thought that, that I never saw any blocks in the way.
Okay, wow.
I'm an eternal optimist.
Okay.
So I thought, ho jayega. And my parents kept thinking, oh, passing fancy. I just wanted to act. And my sister helped me understand what really an actor is, what really acting is.
Wow.
So she fed that hunger because she was an avid reader. So she would read and she would share with me.
So then you went to Xavier's, and till then what did you thought in your mind? Like, so what was the plan?
So I went to Xavier's. I remember when I went, you had these forms you had to fill in where you talked about what you wanted to do. And they said, oh, you want to do theatre? I said, yeah, because Shabana has needed theatre in Xavier's.
Oh.
So, but I never ended up doing theatre because in my first year in college, I got into television. And television was just like, just about finding its feet in terms of cable TV.
Right.
So there was this boom on the brink of happening, and there was a poster put up saying need college students for a college campus serial. So I was actually unwell. I was at home recovering from a typhoid, I think, and a very close friend of mine called me and said, so, there's this thing, you want to be an actor, right? Because I'd done a short workshop at Prithvi in the summer vacation between school and college. So she said, you're interested, so why don't you send your pictures? I showed it to my parents and my sister. And they said, okay, so what do you want to do? I said, go to a local studio. We took the best clothes, the ones that you wear at weddings and all. My sister did the little makeup, used whatever my mother had, the lipstick and the eyeliner. And my sister told me actually how to pose and everything. I had no clue. And I have smugly sat there and, smiled into the camera thinking that, oh, world, here I come, the best actress in the world, or something like that. I remember I sent the pictures. I got called for an audition, and they said 900 people had applied, 150 got called. So I said, wow, they liked my pictures, and then I auditioned and I got through. So then when I got the serial, I remember the producer, one of the two producers, Vinta told me, she said, what got you your audition? I said, I guess my picture. She said, no, the biodata you had written. And that wasn't written by me. So I was like, oh my God, thankfully. So I think it aired for maybe a month, and the channel was taken off air. I remember one of my uncles telling my father that, see, you let her do that. So it's okay. Now that hunger has been
satiated.
Yeah, it's been satiated. Now enough of all this. We are not an actor family. And I remember my father getting upset, and I think that says a lot. The fact that he was upset, because of course my mom had her fears. My mom also had her fears, I think, because one, she was a woman. Secondly, she was a mother. So, you look at the world differently.
Absolutely.
But my father always said, if this is what you want to do, this is what you do. So my father's mother supported me. So she came along with me, like even when I was doing the workshop for the serial, she would come and sit outside for hours. Slowly but surely, I think they began to realize that it's not a bad world, it's what you make of it. And you can dictate the terms. If something makes you uncomfortable, walk away from it. No loss is too big. Especially given today's context, I'm being asked that's a lot.
Yeah.
But no loss is too big, and life is long and you'll get what you want to, the way you want to. I think that's how, I looked at it.
Mm.
But absolute support from the family.
So after this first, college serial that happened, did you straight away move to Hum Punch?
Yeah, because they shut shop.
Yeah.
And all of us, there were 30 actors, most of whom who had come from Delhi. So we were all sent for an audition to Ekta's office because she was starting a daily soap. And I auditioned there, and I got a call from Ekta directly, because Hum Punch was her first show. And she called and she said, I saw your audition, and we want to replace one of the characters in Hum Punch. So would you be interested? And I said, she said, can you come and meet me? And I went with my sister to meet her. And I remember she saying, this is such a successful serial that any other girl would have jumped at it. You sounded so calm. I guess it was, I'm always like that, I take everything with a pinch of salt maybe. Though I thought it was too precocious to think like that at that age, but what the hell, it's done and dusted.
You did very well in Hum Punch, but when you started doing ads, that happened during Hum Punch?
No, so I had to quit Hum Punch 1.5 years after I did it. We would shoot for 5 or 6 days a month, but I was getting blacklisted repeatedly because 5 or 6 days of not being in college meant a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was at Xavier's where they were very particular, and my parents being South Indian parents, they said, you can work for the rest of your life, but you have to complete your education. And I grudged them that at that point. I was really angry with them, but today I'm so grateful, because really I can't be 15 and 16 and go back to college, and that would have been a lost experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I can work for the rest of my life, and also I quit. And after that I did some workshop, a very short, I think a 1-week workshop, where the person who was conducting the workshop, Nandu Khanekar, it was a television media workshop, how to make, what's the difference between ad film and television and film and all that. And he suggested me for an ad film. I went for the audition and got my first, and then went on to do some 90-odd ad films. And that's what one of the ad film shoots took me to, Chennai, where I was asked whether I'd audition for a Malayalam film.
Right.
And I auditioned, and then the next thing I know is the director's in Bombay, and I went on the South Indian New Year, 14th of April, to meet him with my parents and my sister. And they said, oh my God, he has this very, like this padha lekha look, which for a South Indian is very reassuring. So my parents said, oh, there are people like that also in the film industry. He said, it'll be a 1-month shoot or whatever in Kerala. We're starting on so and so date. You're going to come
with Mohanlal.
Yeah, this is with Mohanlal. So I go there and I start the shoot, and then suddenly, Mohanlal was missing in action on a lot of days because what I didn't know, because I was too new and no one was going to tell me, that was the director and he were having issues. So I finished the film, they wrap up the schedule, they just call it off, and then I'm back in Bombay. And I'm thinking, I've got lots of offers. Every day I was getting an offer. I verbally committed to about between 10 to 12 films.
Wow.
Yeah.
You must have been on top of the world.
Yeah, I thought I had arrived. I remember I thought that, now if I'm doing so many Malayalam films, at what point do I decide to go into Hindi films?
Okay.
All the thoughts were going through my head, and I said I'd like to do films in all languages, and let me strategize that. The next thing I know is Mohanlal comes down for, he was performing a play at that time. I went to watch the play. He very sweetly invited me for this. When I went to watch it, he said, I hope that the film is not happening anymore. And I was like, excuse me, what did he just say? What do you mean? He said, yeah, it's just been called off, but I wish you all the best and all that. I came back home and I was so angry. I remember I was so angry with him, I was angry with the director, I was angry with the producer. And you know, I don't know how this happened. Slowly but surely, all the films that I had been signed for verbally started going to other actors. And this we would know because my mom would be reading a Malayalam magazine and she would hear that, and she would say, this director's name, what was the story, tell me, and I'd say, oh, this is exactly it. Because they also give you a gist of the story in some of these Malayalam magazines. So slowly but surely, everything, and they were at different stages of, you know, some film was about to start, some film had already started, but they had, so they had told me that, you know, we'll shoot in the next 15, 20 days, but that's how they worked in Malayalam at that time.
Right.
I don't know how it works now. And then there was some, like they would say, okay, this is a story, maybe we'll start next year. So different timelines. But slowly but surely, I lost every single one of those films. I was replaced, and there was an article saying I'm jinxed because Mohanlal and Kamal, the director, had done 8 to 9 films together, and they were all super hits. So what was a new thing? So I got
Shelved. But you got tagged.
Yeah, I got tagged as jinx, and I was heartbroken. I was completely heartbroken. In that interim, I got signed on for a Tamil film. I went to Chennai, went and shot for it, and then I left the film because it seemed like, you know, there were lots of double meaning dialogues and things like that, which I didn't feel comfortable with the setup. So I left that and I came away. I did another film in Malayalam that also got shelved.
Jesus Christ.
And then now it was a self-fulfilling prophecy because slowly I think I was beginning to believe that I was probably unlucky or some crap like that. And the final nail in the coffin was a big Tamil film I got signed for. I went for the shoot, and by this time I had become like stickly thin and all that. I went for the shoot, and it seemed the producer didn't even come and meet me. I found that really odd, you know, and we shot for about a day, but they would cancel me here and there. They would cancel my shoot days, and I would be sitting in the hotel in Chennai wondering what is happening. Finally, after a week, they packed me off. I come back to Bombay, and in a bit, the hairdresser on the film calls my mother and says, so are you coming on so-and-so dates? And my mother says, no, they've not spoken to us. Only to figure that I'd been replaced in that also. Wow. And that, I think, was, you know, my parents felt now like, even my mom wanted me to be in films fully by now, only because, you know, when you see your child struggling so much, I think you just want to see your child happy. Then, you know, my parents felt like maybe we should go and meet the producer and figure out what exactly is the problem. When we went and met the producer, he showed us clippings, as in some rushes of the film, and he said, look at how she's looking. You think she can really be a heroine?
Wow.
You know, and the way he said it, it's never what you say, it's how you say it. You know, I ended up feeling so ugly. I don't think I looked into the mirror for the longest time. And he also said she can't act, she can't dance and all of that. And I remember it destroyed my spirit completely. And then I think I was a little, I think, bujha hua at that time, you know. There was a Sai Baba mandir close to my house where I would go and cry every day and say, why did you dangle the carrot in front of me? I would, after a while, I did this. I met Pradeep Sarkar at around that time during an ad film. And I remember he didn't look very enthusiastic on meeting me. So I said, you know, maybe this is a sign of something. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. And then I met one of Dada's, Pradeep Sarkar's assistants at the Mami Film Festival, and I told her, I said, you know, Pradeep Sarkar makes a lot of music videos, so if you are ever casting for a music video, please let me know. She said, fine. She said, but we don't do music videos anymore. I said, fine. The next music video, she actually quit her job. But the next music video they did in Pradeep Sarkar's office, so the next video he did, I got a call for, and that was the Euphoria video, Kabhi Aana Tu Meri Gali. And I got that, and then slowly, you know, things began to look up, because suddenly, I think you just need that ray of hope sometimes, you know. You need that one flicker of light somewhere, and then you feel like things are going to change, and then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So you, with Pradeep Sarkar, you got Parinita because he saw something in you and you launched Parinita. You're also one of the few actors who manages to get the film fair, which is the lady that everybody keeps wishing for their entire career. Some get it, some don't. You got it with your first film, with Parinita. Your confidence then, from the low that you must have faced in 3 years, to gaining that kind of a tall feat, must have really changed your perception about yourself, about how you carry yourself, your attitude.
I think success definitely gives you confidence. It gives you the confidence to stick to your guns. Yes, it felt wonderful. I felt vindicated, especially because the producer who had said those things to me met me at an airport after Lage Raho Munna Bhai, and he said, we want to do a film with you. How can we approach you? And I said, speak to my manager. And
wow.
And I came back home and I told my dad, and my dad actually felt really happy about it. I think he felt a bigger sense of vindication than I did. But I'd gone through this. I come from a non-film family, and I had to go through some trials and tribulations, and I was okay with it. But I was happy. I was now getting offers from people I really respected. Mani Ratnam, for example, who I did Guru with. So many other people that I looked up to, actors, and suddenly people were writing about me. They were taking my interviews. They were talking about me. As a matter of fact, after Parinita released, it released on the 10th of June. Up to the 30th of June, my phone did not stop ringing, and I'm not kidding. My phone would be full of SMSs from people. My landline was constantly ringing. People who had not been in touch with us forever, or from who knew us once were all reaching out to my parents. My parents were so happy. And it was suddenly, everything had changed. It felt wonderful.
So, you had a good run. You did like several movies. But were there any struggles then when movies were coming within yourself?
Yeah, it was a big struggle to say no. Because, one, because I just felt like, oh my God, I've waited for this for so long. Is it okay to be saying no to opportunities? Because, you hear people saying when an opportunity knocks on the door, you shouldn't refuse it, and all those sort of things. And then I was 26 already, and I'd entered doing a womanly role. And people kept saying that, anyway, the shelf life of an actress is very short. You played a woman, so now you should start playing a girl. So I was doing those films. My heart was not in them, and I knew that from the very beginning, but I thought those films didn't require my heart to be in them. I was wrong. But that said, my career was going fine. The films I was doing were all doing well. But slowly there was criticism building up around, especially two of the films I did, Hey Baby and Kismet Connection, for my weight, for my clothes, thankfully my work as an actor was never questioned. So I was fine about that, but I said, there's something intrinsically wrong. I did a lot of introspection at that time, spent a lot of time talking to my family, and I realized that acting is what I want to do. So if I can't regress age to fit into a mold that I don't fit into, so I just stopped doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad for it.
You then, decided to take each script at a time, look at it, and we saw your films coming out, and each one was, a challenging role per se, and very, you could hold the film on your own.
Yeah.
It wasn't dependent on a male actor.
Yeah.
And then, of course, came the big, bold move of Dirty Picture.
Yeah.
Did you ever have any hesitation before accepting that script?
I personally didn't, because as an actor, I knew that I could do it. I knew I was waiting for an opportunity like this. The actor in me just jumped at it. But initially, I thought Milan Luthri had made a mistake by coming to me. I said, are you sure you come to me? Because no one would have thought of casting me in that role. There was a certain image. Of course, I'd done Ishqiya. And Ishqiya is what had opened up, I think, Milan's mind towards me, or towards having me as Silk. And then, you know, I think I probably did not react favorably to him. So he left the one line with me. But I do know that in between, I think some other actresses were spoken to because he probably thought I wasn't very keen. But at some stage he came back to me and I'm so grateful. And he said, you know, I still want to do the film. And 1.5 years or something had passed.
Wow.
So I said, oh great, if you still want to do it, I'm open to it. He sent me the script, I read it, I loved it. And in the meantime, I sat my family down, I had a chat with them and I said, see, I'm playing Silk and there are some things that you may not be comfortable seeing on screen.
Sure.
But I just want you to know there are those things. Because, you know, you never know how things turn out. My family, as always, they said,
Go for it.
do what you feel is right.
I want to close this lovely chat, which I wish I don't have to close, with Tumhari Salu, which is your, you know, latest movie, which also seems so natural and, you know, akin to you. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, why this script was so endearing to you.
The script was thought. The script was brimming with life. And, you know, I've been doing slightly intense stuff lately. I think I was feeling also buoyant in a way, just in a happier space in life. And I said, oh, this is what this is calling out to me. I have to do this. And you know how nice that a housewife, homemaker, is being portrayed as being very jovial, full of life, happy-go-lucky. Because normally they're, you know,
Depressed souls.
Yeah, depressed souls, either lonely, neglected, or just full of, you know, living their lives only for other people, being sacrificial goats or slaves. So I said there are lots of things, and radio again, and a late night show, you know, which allows for a little play. I like all that. I like that slight suggestion.
Thank you so much, Vidya Balan. It has been so lovely speaking with you.
Yeah.
I'm sure that, you know, people watching this will enjoy it as much as I've enjoyed talking to you. Thank you so much.
I've enjoyed talking to you.